Hello, everyone. My name is Bruce Sellery, and I am the president of the Canadian Club of Toronto. Welcome to our event and our conversation with Mary Ng, the Minister of Small Business, Export, Promotion, and International Trade. For 123 years, the Canadian Club has pursued its mission to engage Canadians in what matters most. And small businesses matter. They really, really matter. 70% of Canadians work for small business, the largest employer in this country. They're also a major part of our culture. They are our gathering places. They pass on traditions. They foster innovation. They are the place that provide an opportunity for people to dream. They are restaurants and retail stores. They are manufacturers and hair salons. They're dental offices and construction companies, ad agencies, and tech startups. And these businesses are led by scrappy entrepreneurs who take the risk to run a small business instead of working in a job. But small businesses often have less stable foundations than bigger corporations. They've got lower cash reserves, less access to credit, maybe less clout with politicians. And they have been hit very, very, very hard by this pandemic. Drive down any commercial street in this country and you will see the closed signs everywhere. What you won't see are the hundreds of thousands of less visible businesses staffed by millions of people, wondering if they will have a job to go back to when all of this is over. Those are the stakes, and that is the focus for our conversation today. Now, before we dive into today's topic, I want to tell you a bit about the things that are on your screen right now. First off, the most important thing, the questions tab. So we are going to take your questions directly to the minister, and how you submit them is by pressing that little questions tab button and typing it into the system and hit and go. Request help is if you have a technical issue, and click to switch stream refers to bandwidth. So if the video is a bit choppy for you, click that. It'll take it to a lower resolution, but your audio will stay the same. I want to thank today's sponsor for today, without which this event would not be possible. It is Canada's largest network of independent pharmacies. They are Guardian, IDA, Remedies RX, Medicine Shop, Uniprix, and Proxim. Thank you very much for stepping up and supporting this event. Now, despite our move to a virtual format, one of the Canadian Club traditions that has not changed is the toast that we make to our country. Minister Ng, I'll introduce you in a second, but before I do, if I could ask you to raise your glass for the traditional toast to Canada. To Canada.
Canada.
And we'll take a little drink of water here, though I'm sure many Canadians would like something a little stiffer. It's been going on. The Honourable Mary Ng is Canada's Minister of Small Business, Export, Promotion, and International Trade. First elected Member of Parliament for Markham Thornhill in April 2017, Minister Ng was appointed to Cabinet in July 2018 as Minister for Small Business and Export Promotion. After being successfully re-elected in November 2019, she became Canada's Minister for Small Business, Export Promotion, and International Trade. Prior to serving as an MP, Minister Ng served as Appointments Director for the Prime Minister and as Executive Director for the President of Ryerson University, where she oversaw the creation of the world-leading business incubator for tech startups, DMC. The minister is going to make a few opening remarks, and then we will get into the conversation with your questions. So as I said, please submit them. We will get to as many as we possibly can. Minister Ng, the Canadian Club podium is now yours. Over to you.
Well, thank you so very much, Bruce. And, thank you to the Canadian Club for hosting this incredible meeting today. And this meeting on Zoom is extraordinary. And I know that there are many members who are here. I'm looking forward to speaking to you in the Q&A portion. And I want to thank all of you for your incredible contributions, and to acknowledge what Bruce has so eloquently said. Small businesses really are indeed the heart of our communities and the key economic driver to the Canadian economy. And I want to thank all of our businesses who are here and entrepreneurs who are here, because the contributions that you are making right now to help plank the curve or flatten the curve in Canada by staying home, and in so many cases closing your door or ramping down your operations has impacted your businesses, but you are also doing your part, as we all are as Canadians in this very difficult time where we are all fighting COVID-19. And over the many weeks, we have been listening to the thousands upon thousands of business owners and entrepreneurs across the country of every size and in every sector, so that we can understand the issues and the challenges that you have and how we can respond and support you through this very difficult period. And if you leave with anything from this call today or this Zoom today, I just want to be clear. We're going to do whatever it takes to support you through this, and we're going to be by your side and do whatever is necessary to ensure that Canadians stay safe and healthy, and to support our small businesses through this period. And we've done a number of things as a government to help businesses. I sort of largely group them into three categories based on what we heard from businesses. Number one is to help you keep your employees. So through this, the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy is where the Government of Canada will pay 75% of your wages to businesses of any size covering any sector all across the country. The threshold, of course, to access the wage subsidy is that you will have to have experienced revenue loss. And today, the Prime Minister announced that the calculator to calculate your wage subsidy is now available on the Canada Revenue Agency's website, and this will open up on Monday. We're also helping businesses keep their costs low. Businesses have asked us to do that during this period. So what we've done is we have deferred GST, HST, customs duties payments so that they are extended for the next 3 months. And of course, filing income taxes are extended until June, and the payment of those of any payments are deferred until August. And this is going to help over 3 million businesses and self-employed people. We've also heard from businesses that it's really important during this time to have operating funds so that they can pay for the bills, they can pay their operating costs. And this is where we have introduced a number of lending supports, but I think the one that many small businesses can absolutely take advantage of right away. The others are also available right away, but the one that I want to draw attention to is the $40,000 interest-free loan. It's available right now through your financial institution, so your bank or your credit union, and $10,000 of that is forgivable if you're able to pay it back by the end of 2022. And to date, just to give you an idea of, of who this is helping, over 300,000, so over 250,000. Well over 250,000 business owners have already been approved for their loan through their bank or credit union. And we've also just expanded the threshold for getting access to this $40,000 loan. So the threshold for payroll is now dropped to 20,000 and increased to 1.5 million, very much based on what we heard from businesses. And for those businesses, small and medium-sized enterprises that need larger than $40,000, we also have loans that are available all the way up to a $12.5 million, also available through your financial institution, and these are also largely guaranteed by the Government of Canada as well. We also know that there are many self-employed individuals who have seen, who are not receiving a paycheck, who are not receiving, anything during this period because of COVID-19. And for these individuals, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit is available to you. It's $2,000 a month. That those applications are already opened as well, so you can go through the CRA, and they're available to anyone who's making less than $1,000 a month because of COVID-19. And finally, we also heard from a lot of small businesses that one of their significant capital costs, one of their significant monthly costs is rent. So we are working very hard, very diligently, as fast as we can to provide support here through the new Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Relief, rent assistance. This is an area that is under provincial and territorial responsibility. So we're in active discussions, working, like I said, as fast as we can so that we can get that, we can get that support out to businesses as well. And finally, in the face of COVID-19, the government recognizes that many innovative, high growth companies also need the support. and that their revenue losses are not calculated in the same way as some other businesses. So to better support these entrepreneurs and businesses, we are investing $270 million from the Industrial Research Assistance Program, or what's commonly known as IRAP, to support these businesses, but also Futurepreneur Canada for those young entrepreneurs, young businesses, businesses led by Canada's youth, so that they are also supported during COVID-19. So there's a wide range of supports. These are the ones that are focused on businesses. It doesn't sort of include, a number of other social supports, but I wanted to share with you just sort of the frame of what the government has done, and happy to take more questions on this, but maybe I'll kind of end with a bit of an example. I always think that these are always useful to people and business owners, because they may see themselves in it. I've been getting, emails from businesses across the country because I've been asking for the feedback about how our measures are working. Plus, my department also hosts a call with about 1,000 businesses and business associations every day. And here's one. It's a bakery, only a couple of years old, with 5 employees. Their retail sales have plummeted since they had to close their doors due to COVID-19. But that makes them eligible for the wage subsidy, but their demand for bread, which is the bakery side of their business, is strong, and they had a modest sort of online business prior to this. The owner herself had to is not seeing any any pay, is decided to access the CERB for herself, but she wants to actually use whatever money, whatever earnings that might come through the business, even as reduced as it is right now. She wants to keep that in the business, but she's also accessed the small business loan, so that she is going to pay her employees the other 25% top up. So the wage subsidy pays for the 75%. She's taken a loan to pay the other 25% for these 5 employees. Some of those employers, a couple of those employees are bakers. The others, she's actually pivoting the business because she's now going to use some of that loan money to accelerate her online business. An online business that then allows her to meet the needs of her customers, but also to pivot during this time of COVID-19, and using the loan to be able to make a bit of an investment, I suppose, in not only helping her right now, but I think she hopes that this will also help her expand that portion of the business for post-COVID-19 as well. So I thought it'd be useful to share an example of a real business, of a real owner, and how they're using the emergency wage subsidy plus the loan plus the CERB, and how they're sort of interacting as a way of being able to manage through this period. And hopefully, well, the idea of all of this and all the measures, let me be clear, it's to save businesses and to save jobs, particularly for our Canadian small businesses. And that's what these measures are about. So having the good ideas, but also how businesses are applying these, I'm very happy to listen to, but I'm also very happy to listen to what also needs to be done. And with that, I will stop and over you.
Yeah, thank you, Minister. I also love that your example referenced carbohydrates, because I think that's the only thing most of us are eating as our comfort food. Also, our guilt-free, like track pant-oriented work from home life today. You've talked about so many things that the government is doing, and yet they aren't doing everything that there is to do. It's impossible to do everything that there is to do. What would you say are the top gaps that you've identified, that you're working on, that you just don't have something in market to correct at this point? What are the gaps, and what more needs to be done?
Well, I mean, I've been listening to businesses, and businesses are good at being able to tell me this. I think that we are sort of dealing with, each gap sort of, as businesses, as we put something out that meets the needs of literally thousands upon thousands, if not tens, like literally tens of thousands of businesses across the country. That's why we expanded the payroll threshold for the to get access to the bank loan. It's why we also, through my colleague, the economic development minister, where we invested about 600 and some odd million dollars through the regional agencies, the regional development agencies across the country, also community futures that deal with businesses in the rural communities. So one by one, we're sort of addressing that. And, I am still hearing that there are still some businesses, for example, those where they didn't set up their structure and used a payroll, but that they have, that they set up their structure. The structure of their business actually has, has contractors or subcontractors. So the hair salon, for example, or the, the gym, that contracts out a number of, of people who actually work there, but their work arrangement is through contract. So we are still looking through and working through these very issues for businesses, and look, as I said at the outset, and I'm going to always repeat this, the work isn't done. And I'm committed to continuing to work with Canada's businesses so that we can help support you. And what I find very, very heartening as well is that businesses are also, because they're sending in examples, they're saying, by the way, we did this and this sort of work for our business. And I'm using my social media to share that. Every week, in fact, I have this. I started this. I think it was two weeks ago. It's called "Ask Me Anything" on Instagram. So during the week, you can ask me anything, and then on Monday, I post the top 5 most frequently asked questions, and hope to provide some clarity in addition to the range of tools that we've put out there as a government.
Okay, our next question is, can you explain the preference for loans versus grants to support businesses that had to close? The questioner referenced other countries, France, Denmark, UK, for providing both loans and grants to small businesses. How do you think through the different tools in your toolbox there as related to loans versus grants?
Well, that's exactly what the $40,000 interest-free loan is. It is a hybrid. It's $40,000. It's interest-free. It's accessible right now. As I said, over 300,000 businesses have already, gotten access to that, and $10,000 of that, so 25% of that is forgivable. Not everyone is going to take the entire 40,000. Not everyone is going to need it, and certainly, $10,000 of that 40,000 is forgivable if you're able to pay in 2022. So that's 2.5 years, 2.5 years from now. So we've put something in place that gives you like UK, for example, gives you $10,000 of a grant. Well, this gives you $40,000 of, working capital for this period of time. And for those who only need a portion of that, then that portion is going to be forgivable.
One of the other questions is around the relationship between big companies and small companies. This questioner uses the example of automotive and aerospace, large companies supported by smaller business in the supply chain. And the area of stress that they're pointing to is small businesses are dealing with the extension in the payment cycle from the large customers during the pandemic. The question specifically is the government considering policies that require the large companies to respect payment terms in order to access broader government support?
That's a very good question. In fact, it's the first question like this that I have heard, and I think on general principle, we do hope that during this time of difficulty, that there is some flexibility. We certainly are seeing that in landlords. Across the country. I wouldn't say that that's across the board. It's why we need to do the work that we need to do to make sure that small businesses are supported. But we are seeing that flexibility, and I would encourage those companies to exercise that flexibility, because these are the companies in your supply chain. These are also the same small and medium-sized businesses that help you be successful. So I think that business relationship is a really important one.
One of the unintended consequences, this is another question from our online audience. One of the unintended consequences of the CERB is that employees at the lower end of the pay scale are disincentivized to work, given that there is a small gap in earnings. This has a significant impact on small businesses. How will that disincentive be resolved to allow for a rapid restart to the economy?
Well, that's a really good question. I'll take a step back for just a second. What are we trying to do? We're trying to, as an entire country, and using an entire Team Canada approach to plank this curve. The fight is the fight against COVID-19. And to be, and what we needed to do was make sure that people had the support so that they weren't thinking about how am I going to feed myself and my family? Am I going to have a roof over my head during this time? And how do I do these measures that we're all asking everyone to do to plank the curve, stay at home, physical distancing, not go out, not go to work, and making sure that Canadians were supported was what was job one. And that in large is what the CERB is about. It's about people who saw a complete loss in income right away, and this is to help many Canadians across the country. And that's what the CERB is about. But the importance of companies and their employees and the fact that they need to, and we want them to stay together, saving businesses and saving these jobs is absolutely critical, because we also know that right investment means that companies are on a much better road and a quicker recovery when it is safe to do so. We're gonna have to work through this, and I think we're going to, I don't have an easy answer there, other than we're going to have to work through this as we get into recovery, so that businesses and their employees, start coming together, and when it's safe to do so at that time.
As I scan the questions, the one theme that is coming through on this stream over and over and over again is the payroll question. So I'll choose just one of the probably hundreds that I'm receiving here on this, and that is family businesses who pay themselves dividends, barbershops who pay people on contract, commission-oriented people, businesses that just started this year and have no 2019 payroll. The question is, why haven't you lowered the payroll threshold to 0?
Well, we are listening to exactly all of those examples. And as I said earlier, I am absolutely listening, and that we are working on this. The work is not done, and we're working as fast as we can on those very examples. I would also say that on the other side, as I said, the goal was to get this lending, to get this support out to many businesses across the country. And we know that support is already working for over 300,000 to date. And I suspect that those numbers will increase because of the expansion in criteria. But I also want those businesses to know that we are working on that very issue.
You referenced rent. Another big theme for these questions, and from things I'm hearing about on the street, is companies that have paid their rent and kept consistent with that relationship for decades and are now unable to pay. The question here specifically is, when will there be a national moratorium on commercial eviction?
Well, this is exactly what rent support for small businesses who need help with that very important and big expense is exactly what we're working on. It's an area, commercial rents is an area of provincial and territorial responsibility. It's why we're in active discussions. Myself, the Deputy Prime Minister, with the provinces and territories, so that we can work on that for businesses. And I understand the deadlines that are coming up. I understand that the end of the month is coming up fast and furious. So know that we absolutely have that on our sites, and we're working as quickly as we can, because we want to make sure that you are supported and that you're, as I said, the goal here is to keep our businesses and to keep our jobs.
Much of the work with Canadians is going through Canada's big banks. First off, I'm sure that's easier from a scale perspective. This question goes back to your roots at the DMC here, and that is, what's the role for tech companies to get loans moving quickly? US, UK, Australia have been engaging fintech. What more can Canada do on that front?
Well, It's a very, very good question. The banks and the financial institutions, or sorry, the banks and the credit unions is where we sort of, where we started. And we are in discussions with the fintechs. They absolutely have a role to play. We know how important they have been, to many, many small businesses, including those that are in that startup and in that tech space. So you're absolutely right. And something still to be, still actively working on.
Where people have been laid off, this questioner wants to know, is there funding or could there be funding for laid off employees of small businesses to advance their skills from home through distance learning in order to keep employees engaged? It's kind of a great question, because I know most people who have been furloughed are like, get me back to work. This is not a vacation. People want to work. So is there a way that the government can enable skills development in these times?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I must admit I don't have sort of the answer off the top, but I know my colleague who is the minister responsible for employment and for skills development. I know that she's thinking about it because it's how she works. So I'm happy to maybe just follow up, Bruce, with you afterwards when we can when I can go and find the answer and get it to you. But we are absolutely thinking about it, and we're absolutely thinking about that, and to make sure that we also are able to support people in that productive way as well, as best as we can.
We know it is very early to be talking about restarting, but at least we're starting to talk about it, in part because it makes us feel better, and in part because in practical terms, we will need some time in order to do this responsibly. This question, as it relates to small business, is there is going to be a big need for working capital to get small business to ramp up, given the losses that they have started. Will there be additional programs that will support small business in that next phase of the cycle?
Well, so it's interesting you asked that, because I'm going to draw to something you said earlier, that small businesses don't have clout, with politicians or with cabinet ministers. And I want to assure all small businesses, you sure do, because I'm your small business minister. But what I would say about that is this. I have been, and my team and our government has been listening to small businesses across the country regularly. Like I said, my department, talks to over 1,000 small businesses every day, and has been for weeks. It's how we have rolled out these measures to be helpful to businesses. It's how we are, adapting and improving on, upon our, our first, our first release, if you will. Recovery is not going to be different. I encourage businesses to send in and to continue to talk to us about those very ideas that you need, and we are very alive to to make sure that we are working with you through this period, which is to save our businesses, save our jobs, keep our businesses together, so that when it is safe to do so, we're on that road. But on that road, I would very much welcome those very ideas that come directly from businesses as well, as we prepare.
I have one last question, then I know you need to go, and it is this. We are admittedly still at the very beginnings of grasping with the economic consequences of the pandemic. Sure, there's this phase in which we're working from home, and we can kind of deal with that for a limited period of time. But as I read these questions that are coming in, they are both desperate, but also pragmatic about how long it's going to take for the businesses to recover, and the question about whether or not there will be demand within our culture for services that they offer. I just got an email from a dance studio. Will people come back to take our dance classes come the fall, even if we are allowed to open? How do you balance the reality that many, many, many businesses will fail with the optimism that we will get through this over the course of time and based on the collective wisdom and wealth of this country?
Yeah, to that point, you're absolutely right, Bruce. I mean, the collective wisdom and wealth and ideas of this country will get us through this. We are all taking good advice from those who we need to take the advice from right now, which is our public health officials, to make sure that Canada is on a good ground from a health perspective before we, before we take the other measures to recovery. But I'm also so heartened by so many stories and ideas and ingenuity and innovation that's coming from our businesses. I mean, business owners and entrepreneurs do this because they've got a bit of gumption to be able to take on that risk to do their own venture, their own business, rather than sort of, like you said at the beginning, rather than just, work in a job. So I have a lot of faith in Canada's entrepreneurs and our small businesses, that grit and that grit and that fight and that innovation. I think it's there, and we're going to be there every step of the way to support you in that recovery. I would also say that we also just put out some significant support into the cultural sector, into the cultural and heritage sectors through my colleague minister of heritage, again, to support those in arts, in culture, because in recovery, it is going to come back. Are there going to be new and different? I hope so. I sure hope so. But will there be if you think about it, will people still love to dance? I sure hope people are still going to love to dance. Maybe they might do it a little differently. Maybe we need to help you do it a little differently, but I sure hope so.
Minister Ng, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. You will no doubt hear many, 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 many more questions that we'll be able to get to directly. What is the best way for people to send them to your folks in your office? What's the best way for people to be in touch with your ministry?
Well, that's a really good question. Oh my goodness, Bruce, you're like the first person who asked me that. So I'm going to say my social media, and then my team's going to say, "Oh my God, I can't believe you just put everybody there." But I am very, very active on social media. So it's Mary_NG, and maybe what I'll do, Bruce, is send you, have my team sort of give you the official sort of, official government department, email and so forth, so that you can push that out. I'm sorry for that, but on social for sure.
We will certainly do that. We have an unprecedented number of questions here, and I unfortunately couldn't get to them all. I know you're running off to a meeting. I will let you go, but I will do my thank yous here. Thank you, Minister, to you. Thank you also to a highly engaged audience. This is obviously a pretty relevant topic for the over 1,200 of you who have dialed in for this live session. I want to thank as well our event sponsor, Canada's independent pharmacies, including Guardian, IDA, Remedies RX, Medicine Shop, Uniprix, and Proxim, and also to let you know about two events. First, Canadian Club is hosting one for Earth Day tomorrow. You can find out more about that on our site, canadianclub.org. And on Thursday, a panel focused on the innovation agenda. And we're really excited about this. This is in partnership with The Logic. It includes a whole bunch of tech entrepreneurs, including Michelle Romano from the Dragon's Den. Our AV supplier is Van Valkenburg Communications, mediaevents.ca. Thank you for making this all work technically. And again, to the minister, to our attendees, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for much more to come from the Canadian Club of Toronto. Take care.
Thank you so much, Bruce.